A few years ago, we were trying to decide where to live and we ended up moving 7 times within 1 year. When we got into our current house, I bought this bunk bed that had like a house on top and a whole slide down with a couple cheap mattresses, hoping it would entice my kids to share a bedroom. But the reality of that situation was they ended up fighting over who got the top bunk, but then nobody wanted to sleep in the top bunk. My husband or I was having to squish into their tiny uncomfortable bed, and at the end of the day, one of them would end up sleeping with us. Earlier in 2025, we started homeschooling, meaning we were together as a family pretty much 24/7, so having our own space at night became even more important. So I knew we needed to fix this bedroom sleeping arrangement situation, which is what we're going to cover today. My tips and our process for creating a true shared bedroom for a boy and a girl, with beds big enough to do bedtime routines and comfortable enough that as an adult you won't mind if you fell asleep there. First, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Helix Mattresses. They have won hundreds of awards year after year. After having these for over 6 months now, I can totally see why. They are super comfortable. I myself have fallen asleep on them more times than I can count. It's been over 6 months. There's no sag, and I'm obviously probably too heavy of a weight for what the kids' mattresses are. But you guys can head to their website and take their mattress quiz to find the perfect sleep for you and use code TCM for a discount. As far as upgrading our shared boy-girl bedroom goes, in my first video, I shared all of my tips for setting up a Montessori bedroom. I went into a ton of detail there, so definitely be sure to go back, check that out, because I went into a lot of detail on our closet system. And not much has changed there because I had always set this room up with the intention of them sharing it. Each of my kids has their own IKEA Tropos on their side of the room. That is where we store their clothing and if they want to put any toys or extra stuff there. In the closet, I separated a shelf system, so half of it is here in the closet and the other half of it is downstairs in our entryway closet. On each side of that shelf system is a hanging rod, which both sides are currently being used by my oldest, my daughter, because she has a ton of dresses and they need that hanging space. She also is the child that has gotten a ton of hand-me-downs from friends, whereas my son doesn't have as much clothes because he wasn't given hand-me-downs. But if he ever needs the closet system, I'll just move and condense her stuff because she's growing out of a lot of it anyway. But for the actual shelves there, that is a shared space. I went with cubbies to keep it simple. My daughter has one. One is for dress up clothes. The others are for my son. And then they have a shared sweater shelf. At the top of our closet, I keep a bin, and that bin is for where I can quickly toss any clothes that they have outgrown to move into storage or donation. I usually go ahead and clear that out either when it gets full or once or twice a year. The other thing that has not changed is our lighting situation in here. So often parents complain about their kids not sleeping. So I always love to highlight these as an option because blue light can destroy our body's natural production of melatonin. Having these remote controlled changing bulbs that I typically keep set to red is a really easy way to protect your body's natural production of sleep hormones. As far as beds go, so originally, like I said, I thought a bunk bed situation was going to be great. Additionally, like a lot of shared bedrooms recommend doing a loft bed situation. Neither of my kids actually wanted to sleep on the top bunk. They would fight for it, and then once they were up there, they felt lonely or scared. I don't really know what happened. Neither of them have ever slept on a top bunk successfully. We knew we wanted 2 beds that would go on the floor. And fortunately, this is a massive room and we had enough space to get 2 full beds in here. And if you can get your child a full bed, let me tell you, it is a game changer for putting them to bed. I have accidentally fallen asleep in here more times than I can count. So has my husband. We both agree we wake up feeling refreshed and energized on their Helix mattresses. In fact, they're probably more comfortable than our own mattress. So I can't stress this enough. If you can fit a full bed into your child's room, shared or not shared, it will make bedtime infinitely more comfortable for everybody. In fact, the only downside is like we recently stayed in an Airbnb and it had a bedroom with 2 twin beds and my daughter goes, I'm really excited to get back home to our big comfortable beds. And the reason I opted for the Helix Kids mattress is because they are double-sided. There's a firmer side from 2 to 7 years old, and then once they get a little bit older, there's a softer side for 8 and up. It really can grow with your child. It's also tested for lead, phthalates. All of the foams are CertiPure US certified and they are made without fiberglass. With the separate beds, we also had our kids pick out their own bedding that was unique to their personalities. I kept their comforters as just blankets we already had that were solid colors, so there was not too much chaos happening with prints around the room when their beds were made. Previously with the bunk beds, we actually had a decent amount of room to play, but I have found since this switch with the split beds, it actually feels like we have even more room to play because I was able to get a rug here in the middle. And the nice thing I really like about this rug rug is that A, it's cute, but B, it still has like a hidden game built in. A lot of playrooms and stuff will use either like a car rug or a hopscotch rug. And the little suns on this rug, my kids have turned into kind of a hopscotch parkour game where they will see how far they can get from this wall all the way across the room to the bathroom by just jumping on the suns, or they'll use the suns as different little play scene areas. So definitely opting for a rug that doubles as a play space, is soft and comfortable for them to actually want to sit on it, and is sound absorbent, because when you have kids sharing a room, one of the big concerns is, are they going to wake each other up? So a good sound absorbing rug and sound machines are definitely key. Because this room is so big, I actually have one sound machine on one side and one sound machine on another. The other personalization touch are their walls. In my original video, you guys probably already saw the flowers on my daughter's side of the room. The opposite side of the room was originally an art wall. With my son moving in here, I said he could go ahead and pick out his own kind of style design. He chose dino wall decals. And then what we did was we made this wall that was previously blank an art wall, as well as the opposite wall. As far as other shared bedroom tips, I know some people recommend setting up a room divider. My kids, they're young still. They really like being able to see each other. They still like not sleeping by themselves. So we wanted that to stay open. Alternatively, you could get a tall cubby shelf. That way you not only increase storage, it acts as a faux wall. You could also go with one of those foldable wall dividers too. We've had this room set up since March of 2025. It's now almost the end of October 2025 that I'm recording this, and the transition was absolutely seamless. We've had zero problems since this whole thing happened. I know a big concern was whether or not they'd wake each other up, and the sound machines have done wonders for that. In fact, the only thing that they ever really complain about is if the youngest, who typically wakes up earlier than the oldest, if he leaves before she wakes up, because then she feels alone. So they love sharing a room. Even when we go to Airbnbs, previously my littlest would always share with me, and now they always want to stay together. Part of the reason I think everything was so successful is that they got to be a part of the entire process of picking out their bedding, picking out the walls. It was very exciting, even though it felt a little scary and intimidating. And we just made sure everyone was really clear on what was expected of them in this new arrangement. My son still tends to wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, and I explained very clearly to him, if that happens, he can either put himself back to sleep or he can quietly walk into my bedroom. He has a tendency to slam doors, so I told him to just leave the doors cracked a little bit behind him so that he didn't accidentally wake his sister. I think the reason that sometimes shared bedrooms go south is that kids don't feel like they have a personal space. If one of them is having a big feeling, they like to move to the bedroom as their safe space, and we make sure that if somebody's coming into their room to have a feeling, to give them that quiet space. And they both know if the room for whatever reason is taken, that they can always go into a different room and their privacy will still be respected. I also think that it sometimes doesn't work is because it feels too much clutter and too much chaos. So sticking with a really minimalist closet system prevents us from being able to accumulate too much stuff in here, which makes it more manageable to keep the space clean. While it can feel really nice to get a ton of storage, be careful, because the more storage you have, the more stuff you're going to end up buying to fill that storage. I honestly don't know why we didn't get rid of the bunk beds and switch to good Helix mattresses sooner. We have all been sleeping better since we have, and better sleep leads to better health. So whether you are shopping for the kids or yourself, be sure to head to Helix Mattresses and use code TCM for a discount.